Hello, and welcome to another episode of Linux Talks with TuxCare. I'm Joao Correia, Tech Evangelist for Kernel Care, and today we're diving into the latest TuxCare report, which provides an in-depth look at 3 months of Linux Kernel CVEs. If you're a Linux sysadmin, security researcher, or developer, this episode is especially for you. Let's get started. So, in February 2024, the Linux Kernel Project officially became a CVE Numbering Authority, or CNA. This means that the Linux team can now issue CVE identifiers for any vulnerabilities they find within the kernel. Sounds like a big responsibility, right? Well, it is, and it sparked quite a bit of controversy. Before we get into the numbers, let's talk about what this change means. Traditionally, security flaws in the Linux kernel were fixed quietly with updates, without assigning CVEs to every single issue. But now, with the Linux team becoming a CNA, every bug fix, whether it's a minor issue or a potential security threat, is getting a CVE. In just the first 3 months of CNA status, the Linux kernel team issued over 2,000 CVEs. 19 new CVEs every single day. To put that into perspective, consider that between 2006 and 2018, only about 1,000 CVEs were issued for the kernel. This surge has understandably raised concerns in the cybersecurity community. But here's the kicker. Most of these new CVEs aren't even for critical security issues. They're for bug fixes that may or may not impact security, depending on how the kernel is used in your environment. So while we're seeing more transparency from the Linux kernel team, we're also seeing a massive increase in the volume of CVEs to manage. Now, let's talk about what this means for enterprise Linux users. With this flood of new CVEs, organizations are facing a serious challenge. Traditional patching practices are already struggling to keep up. And now, with an average of 19 new kernel vulnerabilities disclosed daily, it's nearly impossible to maintain a stable and secure system without constant updates. The report shows that different long-term support kernel versions are affected to varying degrees. For example, kernel version 5.10 is impacted by over 1,000 CVEs. And consider that it has been out for quite a while now, while the newer 6.6 version has nearly as many in just 8 months since its release. Interestingly, the data suggests that newer kernel versions are more vulnerable simply because they're less mature. So, what's the takeaway here? If your organization is using a newer kernel version, you might be more exposed to these new vulnerabilities. However, the good news is that you don't always need to update to the latest version to stay secure. The report concludes with some practical advice. One key strategy is to stick with older, more mature kernel versions that have been thoroughly tested and patched over time. But how do you keep those older versions secure without missing out on the latest fixes? This is where TuxCare comes in. Our solution allows you to apply security patches to older kernel versions without upgrading to newer, potentially more vulnerable ones. By doing so, you can maintain a stable and secure environment without the headaches of constant updates. In conclusion, while the Linux kernel becoming a CNA brings more transparency, it also introduces significant challenges in managing and prioritizing security updates. As always, it's about finding the right balance between staying updated and maintaining a stable system. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Linux Talk with TuxCare. If you found this discussion helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more insights into the world of Linux and cybersecurity. Until the next one.